Being a secure husband is not using sex as a gauge of your self-worth. Welcome to the Secure Husband Podcast. Certified professional coach Bruce Abbott, founder of SecureHusband.com. So I made a comment on a recent podcast episode about how men use sex as a barometer of their worth. And boy, did I get a lot of DMs and comments on that. So I know that hit a nerve. And I encourage you to check out some of the previous episodes here of the Secure Husband Podcast. We help men stop chasing approval and help them to become more secure in their marriage and start leading their lives and leading their marriages from strength and stability and truth. So let's talk about this idea of sex as a barometer, because it becomes insecure men's scorecard. It becomes their proof that they matter. It becomes their identity. And when the sex is off in a relationship or absent altogether, a lot of guys don't just feel frustrated, they feel worthless. They feel rejected, they feel unlovable, ashamed, angry, resentful. So why does this happen? Where does this really come from? And more importantly, how do you break free from it? It's not by giving up on sex, it's by healing the deeper issues underneath it. Because yes, sex is a primal urge, but this isn't about that primal urge. It isn't about sex, it's about self-worth. And it's how you operate from a wounded core and how you can heal that wounded core and start leading from love and truth and inner guidance, and not from how many times you had sex this week and who initiated this time and who initiated last time. So if we look at this, most men with insecure, anxious attachment, preoccupied attachment styles, they tie sex to their identity. Now, why do they do this? Because somewhere along the way, you learned that sex equals acceptance. Physical desire meant emotional safety, that someone wants you, that you're worthy. If they don't, then that means something's wrong with you. And that's what's going on in a lot of men's heads. So here's what it looks like in a marriage. Let's say if your wife wants sex, then you feel connected and you feel confident and you feel validated. If you don't, you spiral, you panic, that anxiety kicks in, you shut down, or you explode in anger. And as we've talked about many times in this podcast, this didn't start with her. Your wife may be triggering it, but it didn't start with her. This started years ago with your inner child that felt rejected. And it could be a number of different issues. Maybe your mom was emotionally unavailable, or you had a dad that only gave you love when you performed and excelled in something, or maybe you had a caregiver who made you feel like your needs were too much. And so you developed these coping mechanisms. You adapted. You learned how to exist in that space, and you looked for love in performance. You looked for love through achievement, through attention. And then as you got older, you didn't really outgrow this. You had developed this core self based on these coping mechanisms. And then you find out that sex is a shortcut to feeling wanted. So it becomes your identity. It becomes your scoreboard. It becomes this drug of choice. But here's the problem. When your wife pulls away sexually for any reason, your inner boy doesn't just feel disappointed, feels completely abandoned. And he says to himself, I'm not enough. I must have done something wrong. I've got to be perfect and better. And this always happens to me. And no one ever chooses me. And that's all going subconsciously through your mind. It just loops over and over. And that's part of our Secure Husband process, is helping you break that loop. So how do we break that cycle? The first step is just noticing what's happening. Awareness is huge. We always say that. Notice what's really happening. When your wife turns you down for sex or just doesn't initiate, you probably feel this wave of emotion, like disappointment, but also shame and rage, and you feel helpless. You feel like a victim. And most men don't slow down enough and notice what's really going on inside of them. So just start by pausing and noticing it. Just notice that emotion. Notice that story you're telling yourself. What are you hearing? Oh, she doesn't want me. She's not attracted to me anymore. Something's wrong with me. I always get rejected. These stories don't come from that moment. They don't come from today. They came from your childhood. And until you learn to stop and notice and just separate what's real from what's old, reacting from your wounded core. And then once you've brought awareness to this, you've noticed this pain and you've noticed your feelings and you've noticed what's going on, then it's time to choose to lead and not react. Because most guys, they get cold and distant, they try harder and beg for closeness, which is needy and completely backfires. They shame their wife. Maybe they withdraw into porn or fantasy or alcohol or drugs or whatever the choice of addiction. All of these come from that wounded self trying to survive rejection. So it's in this moment where you get to choose a different path. You get to choose not to chase. You get to choose not to beg. You get to choose not to numb. You choose to lead yourself through this. This is probably the biggest pivotal point in this process, is between that stimulus and that response. So where you get to choose, this is becoming the secure man that your marriage needs. This is becoming the secure husband. And this is where you stop handling your identity to sex and start claiming it from something bigger, your inner self, your love, divine guidance, unconditional love for yourself. That's where you start moving your identity away from sex and transfer that identity to you and love for yourself. And a big part of the secure husband process is actually turning to a spiritual core. I always made this comment, when left on my own devices, I will screw this up. So this is where spirituality really becomes big. This is where you reach to that higher power, whether you call it God, the universe, the voice of love, wiser, older version of yourself, whatever that divine guidance it is. This is where you go to connect. You connect to a source of truth and identity and love that is unconditional, that's not dependent on your wife's mood or touch or desire, because this is where you can receive that message that I am worthy, I am lovable. Because here's the truth, your wife didn't create your worth, she doesn't define it, she can't take it away. Only this divine voice of love, that deeper, wiser guidance that's really inside of you, that can give you what you've been chasing through sex. It gives you acceptance. It gives you belonging. It gives you wholeness. It gives you peace. And this is where men begin to heal. You sit, you connect, you say, for example, I have a strong faith in God. So for me, it would be like, God, show me who I am. Remind me of what's true. Am I unlovable? No. Am I unworthy? No. Get that feedback from that higher guidance. Teach me. God, teach me how to love myself the way you love me. Or how do I love myself the way I feel love in the universe? And you're stepping out of the victim mindset. And you're stepping into an alignment with a secure, grounded, connected man that you're meant to be. And then once you're connected to something bigger, you start to heal that inner boy. And you picture him, that little guy inside of you, that little version of you he was beautiful and innocent, and the world was completely open to him until he felt rejected and overlooked and unloved through his circumstances. And when your wife pulls away sexually, that little boy is the one who's panicking because he's reliving that childhood again. And he's saying, am I not good enough again? Do I have to earn love again? Why does no one ever choose me? And here your job is not to ignore him, because that's what you've been doing. You've been ignoring that inner child screaming out for you to lead him. Your job is now to show up for him. When he needs love, you give him love. When he needs validation, you give him validation. And you show up for him with love and with strength. And you say, little guy, I see you. I know this hurts. I am here. I am not leaving you. You don't have to earn love anymore. You already have it. And then you invite that divine guidance into that moment. You let the voice of God or the universe or love say to that boy, you are my son. You are wanted. You are perfect exactly how you are. You're cherished, and nothing can separate you from love. And this is the healing work. It's not controlling your wife's body and her sexual desire. It's about healing your own soul. and you connect with that inner boy, you tend and you heal that inner boy, and then you challenge those core false beliefs that have been running your life. Because you ask yourself now, what do I believe when my wife says no to sex? Do I believe I'm unworthy? Do I believe I'm being punished? Do I believe my needs don't matter? And then you ask yourself, is that true? What does love say about me? What does wisdom say about my worth? That I am lovable. I am worthy. And you replace the lie with truth. So the lie might be, hey, if my wife doesn't want sex, I'm not good enough. And the truth is, my worth isn't based on performance or attention. It's based on who I am. This lie of, hey, if I don't get sex, I've failed as a husband. Hey, sex is a beautiful expression of intimacy. It's necessary in a healthy marriage, but it's not the source of my identity. And I know I get passionate about this because you have to live from truth. This is where you show up as the man you've become. And I have been in your shoes. Every single thing that I am telling you in this podcast is something I have personally lived and gone through. So I'm not telling you anything that I haven't experienced myself. And this is how you show up as the secure husband. This is how you show up as the man that you are and not the boy that you used to be. And from here out, sex becomes something you share. It's some way to connect. It's not something you use. It's not a scoreboard. It's not your identity. It's a gift. It's not a fix. And when you lead from this place, when you take action, you stop begging or manipulating for sex. You stop measuring your worth by her desire. You start creating emotional connection from a full heart, not an empty one. You're not a victim. You still desire her. You still initiate, but you no longer need sex to feel okay. Now that you've found something deeper, you're loved, you're guided, you're grounded, you're secure. Hey, even when the bedroom is not right, and I can tell you from my personal experience, and I can tell you from many of the men that I work with, that when this shift in the bedroom starts to happen, you'll notice it. You will notice it in a good way. And that's where becoming the secure husband makes you powerful. Not like dominating over somebody, makes you powerful inside. Now, I can already see the comments, oh, you're saying sex doesn't matter. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you matter more than sex. Sex is the bonus. Sex is what comes into your marriage when you're secure. Look, you're not broken because you want connection, but if you've been using sex to fill the holes that are left by rejection, you will never get enough. There will never be enough sex to fulfill that emptiness inside, because no amount of external validation can heal an internal wound. Only inner work with spiritual connection can do that, and healing that little boy inside. And that's why the secure husband process works, because it's not about fixing your wife, it's about healing you. And when you stop chasing validation, you start listening to that divine voice of love and truth within you, you will finally feel free. And again, the irony is that's when sex becomes better and deeper and more real. And a lot of times you'll find, and I'm not guaranteeing this, but a lot of times you'll find that when you start to fill yourself up more, you start looking a lot more attractive to your wife. Because now it's not about proving anything. It's about sharing connection from love and not lack. You don't have to chase approval. You are already enough. You can become the secure husband. I promise. I hope this podcast has been helpful. If so, please give me a review. Hit that subscribe button for more Secure Husband episodes. Hey, share this episode if you know someone who could really use this message. And visit securehusband.com for more resources and to book one-on-one coaching. I'll see you again on the next Secure Husband podcast. Thanks for listening.